One of the things I continue to, we continue to receive a lot of issues over is the fact that a lot of people in Fiji are still not aware that we have a national minimum wage in this country. We have a national minimum wage. I think all of you will know what the national minimum wage is. Eh? Do you know what the national minimum wage in Fiji is? Where no one is allowed to get for anybody to be working and get paid less than that amount. Do you know what that amount is? Who knows the amount? Is it $1? No. Is it $5? No. What's the amount? 268. Good. You know that. You can't employ anybody in this country and pay less than $2.68. You will be surprised the amount of people who are still exploited in this country and who are paid less. And we know because we get those complaints. So this is something that's very important. Now, I know for most of you, for the kinds of organizations that you work for, you probably are in compliance with all of those things, with the national minimum wage. But in a lot of the places that you work, you will probably be bound not by the national minimum wage, but by the terms and conditions we have on this chart. Some of you have the chart already. It's called the minimum terms and conditions for the wages regulations. So under this law, the government has established minimum terms of engagement of a worker in these 10 different sectors. Printing trade, wholesale and retail, hotel and catering, garments, sawmilling, road transport, building, manufacturing, mining and quarry, and security services. And this is the second biggest area in which we get issues, where employers do not meet the requirements of this particular regulation. A lot of employers, they do that. So that is the issue that we want to stress. If you are familiar with this chart, you will know that it specifies a number of things. First, it specifies the hours of work. Hours of work. It specifies that a person can either work a 5-day week at 9 hours per day or a 6-day week at 8 hours per day. Anything over and above that will be required to pay more than the usual rate of pay. There are other benefits that kick in when somebody is expected to work more hours than the 9 hours a day for the 5-day week and the 8 hours per day for the 6-day week. You understand that? So what are the combinations of hours? For 5 days, maximum of 9 hours per day. And for a 6-day week, maximum of how many hours per day? 8 hours. Eh? So that is specified by the law. I have met countless people in Fiji who work every day for 12 hours a day, and they are still paid the same hourly rate of pay in the first hour as in the 12th hour. That's illegal. Eh? That's illegal. They must be paid a different amount that is identified in this one. The second thing that this thing says, that people in these sectors, they are entitled to public holidays. Public holidays have to be paid. There's a public holiday coming up on Friday. You know what the holiday is for? Constitution Day. That means for all workers, even though they're not working, they are entitled to get paid for that particular day. So that's a right that they have. Then we have these other rights. In all of these different sectors, this table identifies different kinds of occupation in each sector and what the minimum wage is. What the minimum wage sets the lowest level. You can pay anything higher, but you cannot pay anything lower. Example, for a wholesale and retail, for a cashier, $3.12. For a operator, $3.31 per hour. Unskilled worker, $2.93 per hour. So it sets the minimum levels. Minimum levels. In hotel and catering, it gives, for hotels, barman, $3.31 per hour. General worker, $3.12 per hour. Outdoor worker, $2.87. So it sets those minimum levels in all the different kinds of occupation. And this is the second area where we get a lot of complaints, where people don't comply with this. Next, it identifies the kind of overtime that people should get. So if you're supposed to work 9 hours per day, and you're supposed to knock off at 5, and the boss wants you to work again from 6 to 7, when you work those additional hours, you should initially get time and a half. You all know that, Time and a half. Did you know that? Okay, good. That's very important. First, the additional hours is time and a half, and after that it becomes double time. Right? Those things are identified here. Next, sick leave. Minimum sick leave allowances for anybody in Fiji is 10 days. And we have come across a lot of cases where people are not given sick leave. The idea of sick leave is when people are sick, they don't have to come to work, but they still get their remuneration to help them recover. To help them recover from the fact that they are sick. Sick leave, then we have annual leave. Do you know what the minimum days for annual leave is? Anywhere in Fiji, minimum? If you work for one year, you must be given 2 weeks, so 10 working days annual leave in 1 year. That's the minimum that everybody can be given. Allowances for meal allowance. If you're supposed to work and finish up at 5 every day for your 9-hour day, and then you are asked to work a few more hours after that, for those additional hours, your employer has to make sure that they cook some hot food. Hot food, not cold food, not stale food. Hot food, and make sure that they give that food to you. If not, they have to pay you some money. And that money is called, what is it called? Meal allowance. So that's absolutely important. Fundamentally important for anybody. Meal allowance. We have the allocations also for subsistence allowance. If the company wants you to go and work somewhere else, they have to give you some money to help you look after yourself wherever it is that you're going to work. If you're tried here and they want you to go and do some work in Vatukolo for 2 or 3 days, they must give you this subsistence allowance. For example, if you are in the sawmill, if you are working for a sawmiller and your boss says, hey, today, next 3 days, you're going to work in Vatukolo. Your boss will have to give you at least $17 subsistence per day. That is for that particular industry. Yeah? And it's different. The subsistence requirements are different for different kinds of industries. Another allowance, another rule that we have here is for casuals. Casuals is for people that just come and work in 1 day. They just come and work 1 day. Somebody doesn't come to work. You have to hire somebody to do his work for 1 day. You will just pay that person for that 1 day's work, and the person will not come back again the following day. For that person, he will get a higher rate of pay than the person who is a permanent employee. Right? A casual worker gets a 25% top up on what you pay for the normal employee. So if Pai here is the normal employee and his pay is $4 an hour, he does not come to work, and I ask my friend here to come and work in his place. His pay is $4 an hour, the casual must be 25% higher. That means his rate must be $1 more than Pai. So I will pay him $5 an hour. That's a requirement for casuals. But casual is different from part-time. A casual is a person who works today, you pay him today, he does not come to work tomorrow. Sometimes you have people who work at 5 days at a time, and then next week they might not come to work. Those might be classified as part-time workers. So casuals are these people, just come in and out. The next thing that we have here is bereavement leave, where all workers that work in an organization under these sectors, you work for 1 year, you will be entitled to bereavement leave of 3 days per year. That means somebody dies in your family, you are given the leave where you can still be paid and go to the rengu or to the puja or whatever for your family member that has passed away. 3 days bereavement leave. These are all paid leave. Has to be paid by the employer. Now those are some of the questions that we have in that wage regulations order. So you have this in your chart there. I hope that you take up the chart and put it up wherever you live so other people can see, so they are also aware of these things. Since we had the new budget, since we had the budget that has come in, our financial year has changed. Before our financial year, the government's financial year used to start from January to December. But now it starts from August to July. So when we have this new financial year, they announce some changes to the budget, to the laws. One of the laws that has been changed is maternity leave. You know what maternity leave is, Somebody is pregnant, has to give birth, the woman that is giving birth, and if she is a worker, she's allowed to take 84 days maternity leave in 1 year. 84 days. So that 84 days, if somebody has to give, will increase for somebody that gives birth from the 1st of January next year. 1st of January next year, if you have a baby, you will be entitled to take 98 days maternity leave. So it's going to increase from 84 days to 98 days. But that increase is going to start from the 1st of January 2019. Right? That's the change for that one. The other rules about maternity leave, where you get full pay for your first 3 deliveries. First 3 deliveries is full pay, and all other deliveries will be half pay. That one does not change. The only thing that changes is it's going to increase from 84 days for maternity leave to 98 days, and that starts from January 2019. Okay, that's clear. Second last one, probably second last thing I'm talking about is the fact that there's a new leave now that is going to be introduced from January next year, and it is called paternity leave. Paternity means father, or paternal, father. When your wife gives birth, you as the husband, and if you are working, you have the right to apply for 5 days paternal leave to be with your wife when she gives birth, either just before or just after. So that's a new leave that will come in from next year. Paternity leave, 5 days for men. So it only applies for men and women. Now, you know, there are some families now, there are women and women and men. Right? I don't think this will apply to that. But I know that there are families in overseas where 2 women, they will adopt a child and all kinds of things, all kinds of funny things. This does not, this one is only for a man, and there's a woman, whether it's a wife or a partner, if they're living in a de facto relationship for more than a year, a man also claim this. 5 days paternity leave per year, per delivery, not per child, per delivery. Per delivery. What I mean by delivery and child, you have 1 delivery when you give birth, but in that 1 delivery you might have 1 or 2 or 3 children. But every delivery you get the 5 days, not every child. Sajay, understand? Okay. The last new leave that is coming in from the January of 2019 is this leave called family care leave. Family care leave. This one will also be 5 days per year. And this is to help the worker if there's something urgent that needs to be done about the family and there's nobody to do it, and you want to go and look after your family member, probably your father, mother, brother or sister, there's something wrong with them, there's nobody to look after them. Under this leave, you can apply for this leave to go and look after your family members, 5 days per year. And the family here is defined as your husband or your wife, your sibling, that means your brother or your sister, your father or your mother, or your children. Those are members of your family. So if your father or mother is sickly, nobody to look after them, or one of your siblings got injured and you live together at home, nobody to look after them, you can apply for this to look after them, to do something for them, or even for your children. It's not only limited to your family, it's also for those in your household who live in your house. You are dependent on one another. This thing is playing up. Right? So it's for your family members and also for those in your household. Right? Household, those that are living in the same, that need that care and attention. It's okay? So those are the new leaves that are the new leaves of paternity, the extension, the maternity leave, and also the family care leave that will come into place from 2019. The other thing that I want to highlight for employers is that we do have our National Employment Center. This Employment Center was established in 2010, I believe, after we put the legislation in 2009, and its job is to make sure it's designed to help people who are unemployed become employed. And you see under our National Employment Center, we have a number of different services. Formal employment service for people that are looking to get a job. We try to help them get jobs, and how do we do that? They register with the National Employment Center. We put up all their details on our database, and when employers come calling, I'm looking for somebody with a diploma in accounting who can do some bookkeeping. And if Kenny has registered in our database, we will send, hey, we've got Kenny here, he's got a diploma, maybe you want to hire him. So in that way we can hook up people that are looking for jobs and employers that are looking for them. So we register all of these people as part of these formal employment services. So we invite employers to join with us in taking the people that are registered in our service on attachments, workplace attachments, workplace attachments with them. As part of this service, you may be familiar that we do the 6 months work attachments, where allowances are paid to the people in attachment. Half the allowance is paid by the employer, half is paid by government. Half is paid by government because we want to make sure that these young kids with tertiary qualifications can get an opportunity to pick up some real work experience, because it gives them that extra competence, that extra knowledge that makes them more marketable. At the same time, we're giving young, fresh minds to employers. And you know, when people work for the first time, they're very eager. Whatever you are, they want to do everything because they want to learn. So that is an opportunity for both the employer and for the employee to get something out of it. So the workplace attachments are in place, and we would encourage more employers to consider signing memorandums of understanding with us to make this thing happen. So there are a number of, the other thing that I wanted to mention, there are also incentives in place by other agencies. You know, one of the big problems that we have in Fiji now, our big problem in terms of unemployment, is youth unemployment. Our unemployment rate in Fiji is quite low, only 4.5%. But youth unemployment is fairly high, it's 18.1%. That means out of every 100 youth in Fiji, 82 of them have a source of employment, or they're in education, or they're in training, or they have a source of livelihood. But about 18 out of every 100, they don't have, they're either not in education or training, they're absolutely doing nothing. That is something that we want to address. But you know, when people apply for jobs, most workplaces, they want to take people who are experienced, who know how to do the job. So government has to add some incentives to get employers to want to take people who have never worked before. So some of the incentives that we have in place for employers, not under my ministry, but under the Revenue and Customs Service. If you have an organization that employs somebody who has never worked before, the money that you pay that person in the first 12 months, you can claim 200% tax rebate on the amount of money you pay to that person. I'll give you an example. If Kenny here has never worked before, he comes and works in my company. He's never worked before. I pay him $200 per week. I pay him $200 per week. When at the end of the year, I have to go to Fiji Revenue and Customs Service and show them how much money I spent in the year, how much money I made in the year. That's normal. You show all your expenses, you show your income, and when you have the profit is taxed. Right? But if I employ this person for the first time, he's never had a job before, and I pay him $200 a week, and I employ him for, say, how many weeks? Maybe 40 weeks in a year. How much is that? 40 weeks times $200 a year, that's 8,000, That means for that 40 weeks, say 52 weeks. 52 weeks in a year. At 200, that's almost about 10,000. 10,000. That means in 1 year, I will pay him $10,000. When I calculate my tax returns, and I say I paid him $10,000, when they go and calculate my tax, instead of regarding the money I paid him as 10,000, they will double it. They will double it to 20,000. When I double it to 20,000, when they calculate my profit will be less. So the tax I have to pay on my profit will be less. Can you see that? That is the tax rebate that we have. So it is as if I paid him double of what he paid. So this is the incentive that we do to
to try to encourage employers to take on people who have never worked in the past. So this is also something we encourage employers. Consider taking on these people who have never worked before, because you can get those tax rebates. There are other rebates in place. One big rebate that is under this revenue and customer service is for somebody that's disabled. If you hire somebody who's disabled, say for instance, Kenny is blind. Both of us are wearing glasses. That does not mean that we're blind. This thing that we are blind. And we were paying him, I was paying him $10,000 per year. When they calculate my tax for the disabled people, the rebate is 300%. 300%. So if I paid him 10,000, when they're going to calculate my tax, it'll be as if I was paying him 50,000. So that means my tax in the paper will be even, my profit will be even less, so my tax will be even less. Can you see that? Yes. So all of these things are incentives to encourage employers to take on people who have never worked before, or disabled people. There are other incentives there for, if you send your workers for training, if you send your workers to do some sort of a qualification, the amount of money that the workers spend on the, the fees for that training program, you can also get tax rebates on that from FRCS. So there are all of these conditions in place to encourage people, to help people to get employment.